Love listening to the Blue Monday podcast? Well, your support is very much appreciated, and for as long as we're producing this podcast, we'll never charge you to listen to us. But if you do want to join others in supporting us financially, you can do just that via the Acast supporters feature. It's up to you how much or how little you want to give, and there is no regular commitment. Just hit the link in the show description. The money you donate may or may not be put towards Joe Fair's football shirt collection. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast, now in our 6th season, looking into the exciting happenings at Ipswich Town Football Club. My name is Mikey Smith, and this is the flagship show, and today I'm joined by two fans with over 80 years experience of watching the town between them. It's Craig Fimbo and David Diamond. How are you both?
Yeah, pretty good. Thanks, Mikey. Yeah.
How's my maths?
I'll tell you what, Craig, I'll own up to 50 of those if you want.
I was going to say, what's the proportion we're dealing with?
I'll own up to 50, and it pretty much is, actually. Yeah. Just for any uncertainty out there.
Excellent. And you will, of course, be following the town next weekend. Some news that came out of today was that we now have a fixture next weekend. Obviously, that was originally down to be the Charlton game. Charlton had international players in the squad and decided not to play the game without them. So yeah, we're playing Blackpool away now on Saturday. Dave, you were dead against us cancelling fixtures last season, so you must feel that this is a positive.
I don't know if after yesterday, I'm not sure if it is. I think it's very much that we lost the continuity this time last season, without doubt, definitely. But I sort of looking at it. Yeah, when I saw it today, I must admit I was sort of slightly disappointed. Good that there's another game. There's a game next Saturday, not a blank weekend. But given what happened in the game yesterday and we'll get to it. Spoiler alert. But the injuries, we probably could have done without it. Ironically, but
Blackpool have had a poor start to the season. I think they've lost 3 and 4. So
yeah,
maybe
they
not
have.
a bad time to play them.
They gave the Lincoln a good run yesterday. Just got mugged off at the last, didn't they? So I mean, it's an opportunity to pick up another win, of course. But I don't know. I don't know what Craig thinks, but I look at that different.
A bit like you, Dave. To be honest, I'd have been happy with a week off just to regroup and, as you say, get a few more people hopefully back from the treatment table. We don't know how serious the injuries are, but one of them looked far more serious than the other when he came off yesterday.
We never look that good though, do we? Coming off the back of a international break.
Our record's awful. Apparently, I read that we won't mention names, but didn't one of them apparently left the ground in a protective boot and one left on crutches.
Yeah, we'll get on. We'll get on to that fun and games.
Yeah.
But yeah, how 2020 is it, Craig, that we can arrange a fixture at 6 days' notice?
I know. Well, that's the thing, though. Who's arranged it? We don't know who has arranged it. Have Blackpool arranged it? Have we arranged it? Have the league just said, get it done? But you can sort of see the logic behind it. If we don't want fixture congestion. We don't know what's going to happen in a month's time, 2 months' time, 3 months' time, and if we can't play for whatever reason and fixtures are chucked towards the end of the season, let's just try and get as many done as we can now while we know what's going on, I suppose.
I think it was just the two clubs, wasn't it? I believe it was Charlton, one of which I think might be Johnny Williams, actually, and Sunderland, I think. So I assume it was Blackpool, Sunderland fixture, and if it kind of makes sense if it's just the two clubs, I guess it kind of makes sense, doesn't it?
But it's only moving it from another Saturday, isn't it? 2 or 3 weeks further down the line. It's a Saturday in November that we were due to play Blackpool anyway.
Yeah, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, so it will probably turn out that we have our break in November. I think Joe was trying to work it out earlier, and the teams that are possibly going to have their games cancelled, we've already played.
Yeah, so it's another international weekend, isn't it, when we're due to be playing Blackpool anyway. So in theory, it would only be Charlton and Sunderland cancelling their games, and they're playing Rochdale and Milton Keynes. Segue.
That doesn't work. It doesn't work for me though because I'm still on the news. I
was becoming all professional there, Mike.
I was about to say one man who isn't making the trip up to Blackpool is James Norwood. It was announced. I mean, it kind of came out during the live stream that Ben and Rich did during the week, via somebody uploading a picture of James Norwood and Guillaume Edwards out at Prezzo and Stewmarket.
That was funny.
And Norwood's had a set of crutches with him, and that's kind of where the rumours started. And then on the Thursday, it was announced for definite that he's going to be out.
Bad one. Torn hamstring. Torn
hamstring. So over 6 weeks.
Yeah.
How much of a blow is this, Dave? And would you be looking for reinforcements if you were Paul Lambert?
I mean, okay. Spoiler alert. To a degree, he has to a degree. I don't know. I mean, I'd think now Jackson will probably stay. I guess that would mean not that perhaps we have any saying it if someone came in with a decent bid, but I suppose Jackson's still there. I know he's on the bench yesterday. 4 games, not one of our. Well, okay, we haven't been playing a plethora of forward players, I suppose, but a forward hasn't scored yet in 4 games, so no doubt Norwood would have come into the reckoning. No doubt he would have done so. Yeah, a blow, but when he has figured, when he has played, he hasn't really. What's the phrase? Pulled up any trees really this season, has he?
No.
He's got to take bets on when Hawkins gets that niggle. Is it going to be next weekend?
Jeez, I know. Jeez, don't. Yeah. I mean, I think someone said about young Ben Falami, who has played well a couple of seasons ago, didn't he? But I know he had a bad injury, but I think obviously Morris has done his cruciate again. So, okay, so you might even come into the squad at some point. You would have thought.
We haven't heard about Tyree Simpson for a little while because he wasn't far off the squads last season at times, was he?
No, he was. He was in. He played, didn't he? Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, I don't quite know.
Perhaps we'll see him this week.
Trouble is, there's so little activity. I mean, there's all these games being played behind doors. You just don't really see or much about it, do you? I think they're reported on, but in very, very sort of sparse reports you get on these games now. It's difficult to keep tabs on them, really.
The thing is with the Norwood injuries, it's a hamstring tear in training, isn't it? It's crikey. What are we laying blame to for the cause of it? Is it just coming back after that weird pre-season and not being ready, or trying to squeeze in a pre-season into a couple of weeks? Or
I mean, I hate to say it, but he's always given the impression perhaps he doesn't look after himself in the best way, perhaps. So, to me, hamstring in training, not warming up properly. Oh, look, I don't know. I'm sure they do, but it can happen, can't it? It can happen. But yeah, it's not a good one, as Mikey said. That's certainly 6 weeks. Well, where are we? I reckon we'll do well to see him beside Christmas, bro. If it's 6 weeks with Ipswich, it's going to be 8, isn't it? So, do well to see him this side of Christmas, I'd have thought.
Great banter in the treatment room now, though, with Norwood joining the other lads that are already in there. But yeah, one area that Dave, you did mention that we've strengthened is in the wide areas. We've brought in Keenan Bennett on loan from Borussia Mönchengladbach on a season-long loan. Is this the type of signing that we can make now at this stage, Craig? Is that kind of the best that we can hope for? Hoping to find a rough diamond.
Yeah, and it was a strange. It was completely out of the blue, wasn't it? Out of left field or left wing. He has previously been at Tottenham, hasn't he? So the idea is that maybe Brian Clew has previously coached him and been involved, and obviously is aware of him. And then hasn't. He moved to Borussia a couple of years ago, I think it was. I think he's played once or twice with the seniors, but has been kicking around in their second team. Goodness knows what level that's like for a professional footballer. But I think he'll come in. He's got pace, hasn't he? I think that's what comes out of all the reports. One of the other reports did actually say that his time in Germany's been a little bit hamstrung by his hamstring, I think, hasn't it? So he's now under the loving care of our sports scientist.
Oh, jeez.
So. Yeah, we'll see how that pans out.
Yeah, I mean, we do this a lot, don't we? We sort of get these signings in through the door now. I mean, McGuinness again was one, wasn't he? Suddenly new signing alert on Twitter, and they're there without, no one's really picked up on it till then. So I kind of like that. But there was again, someone tweeted him a picture of him scoring a very nice free kick. So I'm all for that.
Yeah, I think that was Luke Penning.
Luke.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but scoring quite a nice free kick, which was quite soothing, wasn't it?
And unbeknown to me, I've actually seen him play, although of course I wouldn't remember. But in one of those under-15 showpiece games against Spurs, I certainly went to this game because one of my mates was one of the sponsors about 5 seasons ago, and apparently played in that, which I think was the very first time I clapped eyes on Andre Dezelle, actually.
Ah, interesting. Okay.
They all played together, didn't they, for England under 17, under 18,
Downs,
under
I think.
19.
Yeah. But I mean,
I've certainly got some talented young players in our
you
squad.
just hope. I mean, he's a little bit younger. He makes a bit more impact than Georgiou, the other Spurs. Well, obviously he came directly from Spurs last year. He started off really well, and then just
there was a conspiracy theory that he was brought in maybe to boost the number of international players that we had.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But 2020 is not the time for conspiracy theories, though, is it, gents?
No.
So just before we move on to the Milton Keynes game, there was at least one victory for Town this weekend as the women's team thumped Cambridge City today 4-0. I think that was at Ipswich training ground. That one didn't go ahead at the Gold Star. So a strong start to the season for them again. They look like they're going to be right up there all season.
I'm not surprised it was switched. I mean, I obviously Brightlingsea, I guess it was the same here. I don't know about you, Mikey. It was absolute biblical in Ipswich, and it still is now all day and yesterday. It's been awful. So I'm not surprised that switched to Playford Road.
Yeah, but weirdly sunny up north.
Yeah, I was watching the golf in Scotland. Unbelievable.
They're playing cricket in Birmingham.
Yes, they are. Yeah, they're playing T20, isn't it? T20 Blast. Yeah. I know. It's just sort of down this side, isn't it? I think.
Crazy times. It's another conspiracy, I think.
Right.
So off to Milton Keynes we went, and Lambert unsurprisingly went with an unchanged lineup from the team that beat Rochdale last week. So we had Holy in goal, Chambers at right back, Enciala and Wilson in the middle, with Ward starting at left back. Dezelle, Nolan and Bishop again with a midfield three. No surprises there. Edwards and Sears started out wide with Hawkins getting another start through the middle. And the bench was a strong one. Caden Jackson returned, Alan Judge returned, and Cornell, Kenlock, Hughes, Downs and Lancaster on the bench. But a very strong League One squad, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as Dave says, look at the bench, don't you? And if you look at the players that are on that bench there, you've got international players, at least 2 international players on the bench.
Yeah.
And then just a quick look at Milton Keynes' team. They played a 3-5-2. Nichols was in goal. Lewington, who I was told during the week by Joe Fez, has played more times for Milton Keynes than Mick Mills did for Ipswich. And he's still going. He was left-sided centre-back. Williams was the other side of Richard Keogh, our old friend of Derby County fame, who was sort of playing in the sweeper role. They had Britton and Harvey playing as wing-backs, Sorensen, Fraser and Kasumu with a midfield three, and I think it was Mason sort of playing off Morris up top. And it was a pretty slow start from Ipswich, but 7 minutes in, what happens there, Craig?
Yeah, as you say, it was a slow start, and it didn't really pick up much during the remaining 83 minutes, to be fair. But we sort of caught them a little bit cold, and Keogh had in the whole scheme of things, he had a bit of a ropey start. He got caught in possession once, then he got caught in possession again. He gave the ball away once or twice, but he sort of grew into the game, and once he'd warmed up a little bit. But Hawkins caught him out down in the left back position, didn't he? He closed him down really nicely.
Brilliant.
Harried him into a mistake, and the ball fell to Edwards, who got in a good cross into the box. Fell to Sears, who got another good cross. Teddy Bishop got cut in half by 2 of their players in the 6-yard box. And it fell to John Nolan to squeeze between 2 players' legs, I think, didn't he? The goalkeeper's legs, and Lewington on the line somehow just bobbled it, scratched it in, didn't he?
Yeah, that was the classic John Nolan strike, I thought, where it just scuffs it in and it kind of wrong foots the goalkeeper. It was just similar power of strikes to the one at Bristol Rovers. Excellent to see 2 midfield players busting a guts to get in the box like that, and a really good ball in from Edwards to begin with as well.
Yeah, it was perfect, wasn't it? Because if you look at it, when Edwards crossed it, his mirror image winger was in the box from Sears' perspective.
Yeah,
on the other end of it, and then as you say, you got your two more advanced central midfielders in the box waiting for the cross to come back. And by the time Sears' cross had come in, Edwards is back in the box as well. So you got 4 players in the box. That's not, and Hawkins was on the edge of it.
Yeah, it came off Edwards, didn't it? Edwards sort of tried to almost chest it. I don't think it was deliberate chest it down for Nolan, but Edwards actually didn't quite get control of the ball, and like you said, Nolan just bundled it in, didn't they?
It did look quite nasty on Bishop actually at the time when you got
a definite penalty. It wouldn't have played on, but I assume. But yeah, there was a nasty one.
His bottom half went one way, and his top half went the other.
Yeah. Maybe that had a bit of a factor in his overall display.
Mm. Well, hopefully he isn't hurt. And I always think it's good when you see the likes of Bishop and Dazelle get into a bit of a problematic situation and other end of a robust challenge, and they bounce back up.
Yeah.
Because we've seen them limp off so many times before. But then we did actually get a bit of a grip on the game after that goal, and we almost made it 2-0 after a Beckenbauer, Bobby Moore-esque run from James Wilson from centre back.
Who tweeted? Someone put that on the WhatsApp. Was it someone?
Yeah,
one of your pals?
A friend of mine said he's turned into Bobby Moore.
Yeah, he was getting compared to Glenn Hoddle 2 weeks ago.
Let's not get into people being compared to Glenn
Hoddle. What have you started? Right.
Any old ropey old footballers get compared to Glenn Hoddle nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you'd seen me today, I returned to the normal standard today. I certainly wasn't Glenn Hoddle.
Horrible conditions today, was it?
Yeah, it was, but yeah, that's not really an excuse. But yeah, so Wilson charged forward, laid it off for Sears, who cuts inside, looks for all the world like it's going to bend into the bottom corner, and it went just wide. And then in the 22nd minute, we were forced into an early change, Dave, as Stephen Ward limped off and Kenlock came on. That's a major blow, isn't it?
I did not want that. He's had even 3-4 games in. He's had such an influence. He's even he had an influence on the game yesterday. Again, combined once, certainly twice with Sears down the left there, and he's going to be a big miss if it's going to be any. Well, with us, it's not going to be fit for the weekend, is it? It's Ipswich, for God's sake. So you're probably looking at a month minimum. This is me being very, very pessimistic, but that's usually how it follows. So, yeah, he's going to be a big miss. I think he's been probably our most consistent player in the game so far. Certainly one of them in the game so far, hasn't he? Had such an influence as well down that left side, sort of calming, stabilising influence. And we said with Skew's not playing, another, great experience, good talker in the side alongside Chambers as captain. He's going to, if there's any out for any sort of spell, he's going to be a big miss.
The thing is as well, it's the two positions we haven't really got a lot of cover are the two fullbacks, aren't they, at the moment? Right back and left back to a certain extent. And you said it's a major blow, Mike. It's a major downgrade as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that was actually what I was going to ask you.
Lord.
How much does that change the way that we can play with no disrespect to him, Kenlock coming in for Ward?
Yeah.
Well, he's not as good defensively, and he's not as good vocally. He doesn't say boo to a goose, does he? And he wasn't great going forward. We just completely lost everything going forward from that point. It was, it just showed, I think, to everyone that the job that Ward's been doing, and to be fair, he's been highlighted the fact that he's doing it. But just the downgrade in quality to Kenlock now, and from people had high hopes of Kenlock, didn't they, when we're in the Championship, for goodness sake?
Yeah.
But he hasn't pulled up, to use Dave's phrase, hasn't pulled up any trees in the last couple of years, has he?
Do you know what? If you think about it, out of any of those players, the one you didn't want to lose you'd say Ward would. Who would have thought we'd be saying this? But probably key actually.
Yeah.
To how we started. Yeah, such a shame. Yeah. Look, might just be precaution. He walked off. They didn't go off a stretcher, did he? Hobbled off.
Yeah, and he actually pinged a nice long diagonal ball.
Did he like who we're going to get onto in a little while? Did he then come back on? He did, didn't he? Did he?
He sort of went down, didn't he? And then, as you say, Mikey, they kept passing the ball to him, and he sort of thought, well, he may or may not want this.
Did he go down and get treatment or not? I can't remember.
Well, he didn't really get treatment, did he?
No, I don't think he did, because it was the other. It was the other side. But I think they were readying the change already. Kenlock was probably stripped and ready to go, and then Ward plays a massive long diagonal ball, which to me you don't really do when you're injured. But
Didn't Lambert say it was his? Lambert said it was his Achilles, I think, didn't he? Afterwards, and he also probably intimated that it was more Lambert's choice to take him off as a precaution.
Oh, okay, as a precaution. Okay. Well, fair enough. Fair enough.
That would be if he's got very positive then.
I guess he's the one that had the boot on. So yeah, if it's just an Achilles, sore Achilles, then you can manage that. Maybe
it could be like Achilles tendonitis or something like that. That he's sort of because he did miss a couple of games in pre-season as well. Let's not forget.
Yeah.
But then he
just needs to be managed. At his age, he just needs to be managed, doesn't he? And if he's getting little niggles here and there, then it's better that happens than John Walters snaps it and. That's him done.
Yeah. That's him done. You're done. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a pat on the back, that one, for the Ipswich Town Sports Science team from Craig Fimbo.
Yes.
But yeah, so the rest of the first half was
out for 6 months. Sorry. Sorry, guys. No. Please don't. No. Dave's fault.
Milton Keynes had pretty much the best of the rest of the half. In fact, they did completely, and Thomas Holy had to make a very good save at the end of the first half. So yeah, a poor first half, that one, Dave. With Nolan and Bishop not really getting into the game.
Absolutely bossed us. You got to say, play some really nice stuff. Yeah, again, I think it's been a lot, like a few of these games this season where teams have played some good stuff at times, but just without any real cutting edge up top. I think I had that. Morris, I think, is Norwich loanee or ex-Norwich, I think, possibly. Just really no threat, no great threat then in the final third, really. But a lot of really nice play, you've got to say. Sorensen in midfield too, and Kasumi. Yeah, look, they were really good, really good. They just bypassed our midfield. Bishop yesterday. I can remember one run, he sort of usual Bishop like dropped his shoulder and that, but just wasn't in it. Do you think first half when he dropped deep and getting the ball? Yeah, I thought he was okay first half, but I just think, we'll get onto it.
Do you think Lambert might have changed the midfield three had he not already have had to make a sub at left back at half time, Dave?
I'd have thought perhaps we might have sort of almost gone 4 in there. I don't know. Yesterday it was strange. We weathered the storm. It was an odd one because you sort of weathered the storm as such. Possession wise, very much 7 minutes in it was against a run of play, and then we sort of seemed to gain momentum from that. Sears, if that goes in, probably then you go on to win the game. But yeah, that sort of after that, they just again it's very much like games from last season where we just lost any momentum we had again. Do
you think, like the first few games of the season, our midfield three has sort of overcome the opposition by virtue of their technique?
They just passed through us yesterday.
Whereas yesterday we may have needed to overcome them in midfield with a bit more muscle and. Yeah,
I'd have liked to have seen Hughes at some point yesterday. I mean, he's just sitting on the bench there, for his, physicality. Yeah. All right, downs, but definitely.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, there was no substitute at half time. We seem to be getting Downs and Alan Judge ready when disaster struck on 54 minutes, Dave, as MK.
Yeah, it was a very similar goal to how it all evolved. Really, the ball down our left side. I think Wilson, I believe, gets turned sort of right on the halfway line, and it runs to Sorensen. I thought was really good. The blonde-haired lad, I thought was really good.
Tidy.
Yeah, very similar cross to Edwards. Actually, pretty much the same. Really, for our goal, throws that cross in fairly early. Chambers has got a man to mark, gets a little bit unlucky because I think he goes for the ball, then loses his footing, I believe. I think he loses his footing. Good finish by the guy, takes it down, left foot to control, steadies himself. Really good finish, actually, in the far corner. Though, if you look at it back, somehow he managed to bypass, I think, Enciala, Chambers and Dazelle, I think, are back there, and the keeper. And in some ways, I think they perhaps unsight Holy, but it's placed right in the corner, so whether Holy would have had a chance to die for it or not, I don't know. But yeah, it was. You can't say it wasn't coming, and you can't say it wasn't deserved, can you? Really?
No.
Well, the thing, I think Dave, you said it was Wilson on half, and it was Kenlock, wasn't he? Kenlock was miles out of position.
Oh, and Kenlock's out of position as well. Yeah,
and then Wilson has to come. Yeah, Wilson has to come over to cover, and then everyone's sort of shifting across one.
Yeah.
So therefore, Chambers' man's free on the.
And someone highlighted on our WhatsApp or on Twitter or something. Kenlock sort of jogging back. He was out.
But the thing, as you said, Dave, that the guy where the guy scored from was pretty much the identical position to where Sears had his chance from, isn't it? And that is it. There's your margins there, isn't it? That their guy finds.
Oh your chance.
Sears
yeah,
doesn't.
definitely. Yeah. Different, I suppose. Sears was running onto it and sort of tuck it inside. He was able to steady himself, and there was
it was Harvey, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He did tuck it away well, and immediately Lambert makes a double change. Craig Downs came on for Bishop, and Judge came on for Sears. So this is on 55 minutes. Brings me on to my question. Say these subs didn't pay off would be putting it mildly, wouldn't it, Craig? With Downs almost immediately going off injured and Judge looking pretty ineffectual.
I think it was Joe that said that Downs was the best performing of the three subs. A bit harsh, but... Sorry, just quickly, I did not see the necessity. I totally got Bishop was out of it. He's anonymous yesterday. Totally get that. Didn't see the necessity for Judge for Sears at that. Okay, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but he never does that, does he? Never.
No. I was just about to say exactly that. When does Lambert ever have made all of his 3 substitutions with half an hour of a match to go? He never does. Ever. He always makes one around 60, 65 or 2 when there's not one in the first half. Around 60, 65 and then another one around the 80th, 85th minute. Yesterday, sod's law, we bring 2 on, use all our subs up, and as you say, within 5 minutes, Downs has gone off, and Judge, I don't know.
It's frustrating, mate. He's not.
He's a fraud.
Well, you know what? I was speaking to my son about that. I just don't think. I know we're talking 5 seasons ago, are we now? I just don't think he's ever. Well, he won't. I don't think he's ever been the same player since what happened down here. Really,
he did look so good on loan.
But then he wouldn't be with us, was he? But he does, and I agree with Craig. He just flatters to deceive. God, he's so.
But then he's not playing it like he's not a left midfielder, and you know that you shouldn't be putting a player that is renowned for not tracking his man and not defending properly in front of a left back that's already struggling, and we've just conceded a goal because he's got caught up the pitch.
Yeah,
that substitute made no sense.
It's just been an ideal scenario. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, but okay, Downs has to go off injured. Okay, another sub on Trots Hughes, perfect. Probably going to win the game there.
Thing is with Judge, within 10 minutes, he's having to swap wings, and Edwards is having to come onto Kenlock's side to offer him the protection that Judge wasn't giving him. And by the same token, Lancaster's come on in the last few games and created 2 goals at Bristol Rovers.
Yeah.
Why is he not first name on the bench or to come off the bench, having done what he's been asked to do in the previous matches? I just don't get why Alan Judge,
Mikey,
there's no evidence in my mind for Alan Judge to be leapfrogging Jack Lancaster. He hasn't produced anything really since he's joined permanently, has he? In the whole scheme of things, Alan Judge, assists, goals,
not to any great.
And for me, if you are going to bring Alan Judge on, it should be an attacking change, and it should be him coming on for Bishop.
Yeah, point.
I'm not saying that we shouldn't have brought Downs on, but for me that's the position in the 4-3-3 that Judge should be playing, is probably the most offensive midfielder, and then you sit the other central midfielders a little bit deeper.
Yeah,
but
the thing is, in that formation, it's probably the only position that he can play, isn't it? We're now playing a formation which simply doesn't suit him.
Yeah.
Yet we're still trying to crowbar him into the team.
Where did he play, Dave? When Lambert first came in and we got Judge on loan, and I know we played a diamond when we played at Norwich, but before that, when we were playing 4-3-3 with Sears on the left, where did Judge play?
Did he ever play in that little withdrawn 10 role? Did he ever play in that role?
Not very often, I don't think.
No,
he's always been pretty much stuck out wide, hasn't he?
Yeah,
he's been playing
wide. I think you're right.
Wide in a 4-4-2 for some of it.
Yeah.
But so from there, obviously Downs limping off. I mean, that just
couldn't make it up.
That had us down to 10 men, and it was always going to be very difficult from there. And I think we all at that stage were just saying, "Come on, let's make sure we get a point out of this." If there was a team that was going to win it, it was going to be Milton Keynes. Holy was much the busier goalkeeper. He made a sort of double save, or he spilt one and did well to block the follow up with his body, but he looked shaky a couple of times with crosses. And yeah, we never really threatened on the break. Although I felt Hawkins did quite a good job.
I thought he did well.
Front.
Yeah, I thought he did well yesterday. I liked him.
Did everything you can ask for him, didn't he?
Yeah,
yesterday?
On his own, he did really well. Ran the channels well. Yeah, in those 2 games, he's done really well. Yeah, he's deserved his chance, and I think he's okay goal wise. No, but certainly work rate and the job he's done, he's deserved it. He's done well.
He'll learn the rest he gets when his groin goes next weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, Craig.
It's a sunny Blackpool.
I was about to say, yeah, so it ended 1-1, but we're still unbeaten. And what are we, 3rd?
Yeah.
Our points per game is still above 2, and we all know how important points per game is in the EFL. Lincoln and Hull obviously maintained their 100% starts, so they're right up there at the top and looking decent. But Sunderland could only draw, and Doncaster lost. So we're not going to win every week, and maybe it can be put down as a bad day at the office.
Exactly that. In isolation, it's exactly that, isn't it? It's a bad day at the office. There weren't many performances above 6 out of 10. There were quite a few below 5 out of 10. You'd say in isolation. Sorry, in isolation, it's a one-off. It's how you do next weekend now, isn't it? It's how you respond.
I thought a word must be said. I thought NCR was outstanding yesterday. Yeah. I've got to say it. I never thought I'd be sitting here saying that, but he really was good. Wilson did okay as well. But
to be fair to them both, they're doing exactly as you want them. They're not doing anything wrong, are they? They're doing exactly what you'd ask of them at the moment.
Yeah. Very good.
I'm just looking at the Twitter questions now because I know that I had a decent one, and now I'm starting to wonder whether I've actually got it on here. I might have to quickly load up the app on my phone, but I'll kick us off. We'll start with you, Craig. FPL Tractor. That in the end, considering the injuries, etc., felt a tough point on the road. Or are my expectations too low after years of rubbish? I think I know what way you're going to go, Craig.
No, well, as I said before, in isolation, yes, it's a good point. Although I noticed that they're now bottom of the league, Milton Keynes, aren't they?
Yeah,
rock bottom of the league, which is
2 points.
Yeah, in isolation, it's a good point considering we had 10 men for the last 25 minutes, 30 minutes, and the performances that we had. It'll all depend on if we have another shit show next weekend at Blackpool and have another performance like it and another result or worse. Then you think, oh, hang on, it was a start of a downturn rather than just a blip. I think we just need to see the reaction to it, to be honest.
And interestingly, I think I saw that our first 3 opponents all won yesterday. Wigan, Bristol Rovers, and Rochdale all won yesterday. So those that were sort of bit me as well, sort of poo-poo, well, who we really beat? Well, I think one of them beat Fleetwood. Certainly, was it Rochdale beat Fleetwood? Bristol Rovers won, and certainly, Wigan. Well, Wigan beat Doncaster.
Joe Garner scored a
goal. Joe Garner, quality header, yeah.
Dave Gort had a similar question, actually, Dave, which I'll come to you for. Is that the sort of game that would have resulted in a loss in the previous 2 seasons?
Well, certainly the latter part of the season we played last year would have certainly resulted in a loss. I think. Yeah, it was backs to the wall stuff, but they didn't really get round us as such, did they? I mean, they again, and like I said, lovely passing side, but a lot of that was in front of us. Yeah, okay, the one just before half time and the one wholly spilt and then had to sort of make the double save with his body there. They didn't really get around us. So, after that, I thought we were pretty well organised, solid, and NCR and Wilson and coaches headed everything away, really. But, I suppose we showed good character. With 20-odd minutes to go, ultimately, it's a good point. Yeah.
I've managed to find the question now, and I did have it down in the end. It's from Tom at TGAF78. So this kind of puts a positive spin on it slightly. So he says, Craig, Lambert was right to remain loyal to the team that won 3 out of 3. Do you think today will be today, as in the game, will be a blessing in disguise as he can now include Downs, Wolfenden, and perhaps McGuinness and Bennett?
Yeah. I think yes, he had to stay loyal to the players that had won the games. Although even then, the performances of maybe Sears and Bishop was sort of tailing off a little bit more recently, you could argue. But it would have been an opportunity to say, okay, thanks, Teddy. You've played a few games on the trot now. Start from the bench next week. It may now be that that's Hughes that does that rather than Downs. That remains to be seen. Sears, I don't know. But the thing is with Sears, he's got experience, hasn't he? He is one of the ones that has played a few hundred games. If you're losing Ward, you do need, you don't want to be chucking in a kid that's never played a professional game.
I think Sears will keep his place.
Yeah. And Edwards deserves to keep his. I think he's playing fine, isn't he? And he offers decent protection to his fullback. Hawkins is fine. The two centre halves, as we said about, I wouldn't be dropping either of those two.
No,
you'd be pretty bloody cheesed off if you were one of those two and didn't play the next match, I think.
Yeah. So next Saturday then against Blackpool, you'd keep the same formation. Ward is obviously going to be missing. Downs is almost certainly going to be missing as well. So would you just bring in Hughes for Bishop?
Kenlock or the new left back that's going to sign before transfer deadline day.
Certainly I think Hughes had come in for me, definitely.
Yeah, he hasn't played much this season, has he?
He doesn't
seem to fancy him.
Did he come on last weekend? I think he has been on the pitch, but he
certainly hasn't been on the pitch much. Dave, Town seemed to resort to playing the horrible, ugly football we've been so accustomed to over the previous seasons. A real lack of drive. Nolan always going backwards. Infuriating as ever. And I've just got to the end of the question, realised it's just a statement from Tim Gornall, who says he loves the show. So I'll move on to the next one.
I pretty much agree with it, though. Most of it, yeah.
Slower ball, a pretty ordinary performance, and yet more injuries. Is there a reason why Holy can't catch more balls, given that he's nearly 7 foot tall? He should boss that area, but doesn't, and seems to suffer from poor decision making. Dave, would you agree with that? Are you worried about Holy's form?
I don't know, because then, sometimes he'll come and get... He's just a bit in that respect, he's a little bit inconsistent, because sometimes he'll come and get corners like he should do. I mean, he's 6'7", 6'8", whatever he is. It's those ones where perhaps it's lapse of concentration, or perhaps he's just not aware of his 6-yard box sometimes. The one yesterday, I know he's talking about, the one where he let sort of float over his shoulder. All right, it was at an angle, and he's just not aware of perhaps who's behind him. Maybe that's a communication thing or something like that. But you think he should be more given the size of him, he should be more commanding, shouldn't he?
I wonder whether it's maybe because it's a little bit more high risk for a goalkeeper to come out and try and claim everything, and because he's been taken out of the team in the past for mistakes, he's maybe lacking in that bit of confidence to come and claim everything.
Yeah.
He just has that strange trait, doesn't he, that he comes for it and you think, right, well, just put your hands up and get it, and he sort of just pulls his arms away and lets it drop behind him. He's done that 2 or 3 times this season.
There was a hairy moment at Milton Keynes, wasn't there? Yeah, he did that, but I guess the player behind isn't going to be expecting it, so he kind of gets away with it.
He does everything other than reach his hands into the air and catch the ball, doesn't he? He gets into position, he looks at it all the way, and then sort of withdraws his hands at the last minute.
Like slower like this, like his shoulder and arms to one off stump, Craig.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Getting in position and then
good leave.
Go through. Absolutely.
Next question, I'll come to you, Craig. Mouth 11. Is there a witch's curse on the club, or is the medical team genuinely inept? Is it past the point of bad luck now? This is something that we've discussed at length, and the answer really is we don't really know, but we can speculate. And how many times can these things happen before it's clearly no longer a coincidence?
Yeah, I don't know. As I say, we would talk about it every week, and that's the issue in itself. The fact we're having to talk about it every week because it's another player that's going down. And the thing is, as well, with Norwood's played, I said it before, the previous seasons, he's playing 50 matches a season with no problem at all. As soon as he joins us, he's breaking down with groins and tearing hamstrings, But then, as Dave says, I think some of this needs to start laying at the door of the players to a certain extent, or certainly maybe this player. I'm not convinced that the fitness regime of stretching your hamstring on the top of your Range Rover while trying to get in your top floor of your house is in any medical textbooks.
Yeah, again, and these players just seem to, they get into the sort of like almost a medical system at Ipswich, and almost just Vincent Young. What? Well, has anyone said? Does anyone know? What just disappeared?
Nydam's been out for Christ, poor kid's been out for months.
I think they said no. I think they did say, was it November? I thought they said for Nydam, but I mean Vincent Young. I mean, no one's really said anything about it. Odd, really odd.
But in terms of which
black hole.
Who was it that had a piss in every corner of the pitch? Was that Barry Fry at Birmingham, was it, or Peterborough?
Yeah,
need to get an exorcist in.
Yeah, the black hole is the medical room. I think. Christ, they just disappear in there. Believable.
Excellent. That brings us on to Mullet's question. Mullet made his naked football show debut in the week. I don't know if you both tuned in. He was eloquent. He was exactly what you'd expect from
Mullet
podcast.
It's a mullet
expert.
like.
He hasn't stopped going on about it since either. I think he's got a bit of a diva complex.
I haven't listened yet. I will listen to that.
I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah.
GB was good though, wasn't he, Craig?
Oh, he's all, as ever. The constant professional.
Held
it all together.
Always value for money, GB.
The
always
podfather.
Yeah, certainly.
So Mullet's question is, how much evidence of coaching have we seen under Lambert since his arrival? Could this game be a point where we just see how good he is at giving players the instructions and belief to succeed? After all, we played so badly and still didn't lose. Dave?
Yeah. It's the sort of first setback this season. It will be interesting, but again, like we said, it'll just be interesting to see what players he has got at his disposal next weekend, really. But does it call for a change of formation? Don't know. Depends. Depends. Let's say what players he's got available, and they can fit into that system, really.
I think in terms of yesterday, we were saying, in isolation, it's a good point, but at the end of the day, as we talked about, Milton Keynes really didn't have much up front, did they? But they didn't really batter the door down. So our defensive structure or anything like that didn't really take much of a beating.
Really. It was all in front of them, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So Cornish Mariners' question was quite well timed. So he asked, "We might be playing Blackpool next weekend, I hear. Would that be a good thing?" Obviously, the news came out after he sent that, but I think we covered that earlier on the show where. While you two are kind of pleased that we're going to have less of a backlog this year because we can't call off for internationals, you're not sure whether this is the right time.
I think it's a double-edged to that one. I think had we had not even one yesterday, had we had a more positive performance and perhaps not picked up both injuries yesterday, all right, Downs hasn't been starting. And, I think, it would have seen, next week, we'd have welcomed the game next week. So, right, we can get this one out of our system, move on to Blackpool away. You haven't got to, sit with it over the 2-week break. So, but as the match turned out yesterday and what evolved from the match yesterday, for once, I think we could have done without it.
I think Blackpool may be focusing their attacks down our left-hand side.
Quite possibly. Patrick Palmer asks Craig, first test from a half decent team and we come up short. With tougher tests to come, will we find that this supposedly quality and in-depth League One side is actually not as good as we thought? Genuine concern with the games ahead and the injuries to our best players building. Were you about to say, Dave, but Milton Keynes are bottom of the league?
Yeah.
Without a striker as such, yeah.
He did say half decent.
They play some at times. They play some really nice football. We don't play football like that. We just do not play football, stroke it around like they did. But I really like that Sorensen in midfield, and that was it. Kasumi, the other guy in midfield.
Yeah. He was sort of dropping into the back three and getting the ball off them a lot, wasn't he?
Really good.
But we didn't put any pressure on him, did we?
No,
at all?
No,
we just let him have the ball pretty much. He was just playing it around, having a lovely old time, playing into pipe and slippers, as they say, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But Patrick's right. We won't know until we've played everyone. But then, as Dave said, the teams that we have played already have gone and beaten, Doncaster yesterday and other teams that you wouldn't expect them to. And Fleetwood are having a hell of a season so far, aren't they? They're struggling. No one's. It's only really the two teams that are above us that have started well. Everyone else is pretty much beating everyone else, aren't they? At the moment, it's going to take a little while to settle down.
Hull, I guess you would expect. I mean, they haven't conceded yet, have they? I mean, you'd expect Hull, coming down for the Championship. All right, they had a horrific season, but you'd expect them. Lincoln, Okay, will they 4 games and will they continue that? However, people said that about Wickham last season. Yeah.
Didn't David Johnson's son got a couple of penalties, didn't he, for him yesterday? It was him that was winning the penalties, wasn't it?
Brennan Johnson, he did, yeah. He went there last week, didn't he? I think
against Blackpool.
Lincoln, yeah.
Okay. Born is the king. How come we didn't think to get him on loan then? Is he a striker?
Yeah,
I think so.
Quick. Yeah, he's a quick striker. He's similar to like Jackson, I think.
Quick, pacey.
Okay.
Yeah,
like he's a bigger version of his father, I think.
Fair enough. I think we've kind of covered this one from Thomas Ebling, but I'll go with it anyway. Sorry to sound a bit dramatic, but if it turns out that those 2 injuries are bad ones, I feel as though our promotion chances are severely hampered. One of the reasons being that I believe Ward is such a key player this season, and I'm not too fond of his replacement. Was this your burner account, Craig? He wants your thoughts on this. Okay, I'll just get you to answer a part of that. Is he being overly dramatic to think that these 2 injuries could severely hamper our promotion chances over the course of this season?
Well, let's wait and see how serious the injuries are first, obviously, first and foremost. But yes, Ward, strangely, maybe Ward is, in terms of the cover that we've got elsewhere in the central midfield, Ward has been such a calming influence. And I said when I was on 2 or 3 weeks ago, it would just be nice in the back four to have one position that you can just hang your hat on and not have to worry about.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. Yeah.
Just a Chris Makin, a David Wright type of player. Right, that's yours. Just come back to us in May and we'll, see that you've played 40 matches for us without even having to worry about it. But I'd be more concerned about him, and as I say, because of the downgrade in the replacement than I would be, because Downs hasn't played so far, starting wise anyway. Hughes is in there if needs be. As Dave said, Judge can potentially do the Bishop job. So there are a few options in and around that midfield. It's just that maybe that physicality that we may require in the tougher away matches that we could miss with Downs. But if Hughes can get up to speed and partially do that job, then we may be okay.
Dave, come on, we've played 4 games and we've got 10 points.
Yeah.
Are you concerned at this stage, Dave? Would you have taken? You would have taken that, wouldn't you?
No, of course you would have done. Yeah, I mean, I think I worked the fixtures out.
But with the injuries as well,
we thought that the first big test would have been Charlton next weekend. No, great start. You can't unbeaten as you said. Only conceded 1 goal. Fine, good start. If we can just put that game behind us and hopefully get some positive news about Ward. Certainly agree with Craig more so than Downs. All right, Downs is an important player to us. He is an important player to us. But I think get some good news about Ward. Then just move on to Blackpool, pick up some points there, and off you go. It's it's like I said, I can't keep banging on about it, but Ward for a long term will be a big miss. A 35-year-old for Christ's sake, but he will be.
Well, hopefully, if we do get any news and it is bad, then it gives us time to think about replacements, because we simply haven't got.
He's just not. Bless him. He's not. No, he's not up to it, is he?
So the travelling tractor has an unrelated question. He says Andre Dazelle apparently has said that he's been working on his ball off the ball work. So he's sort of defensive positioning and tackling, etc. In the backs against the wall display in the second half, the travelling tractor thinks that he went missing. Is that fair? And to be clear, he says he thinks his forward play makes him a starter every week, but the other part of his game still needs work. Would you agree with those assertions? I'll go to both of you, but we'll start with you, Craig, as you're on the left.
I'd say Nolan went missing more than Dazelle went missing yesterday. To be fair, Dazelle does what Dazelle does, doesn't he? If you want a player that's going to do what he does and tackle and cover his centre halves and out wide, you're going to have a hell of a player on your hands. You're not going to be having a League One player on your hands. So I think we need to just take Dazelle for what he is, and if he can improve in that aspect, then all's well and good. I say I was more certainly on yesterday. Don't get me wrong. Beginning of the season, he's been fine and he's getting into the box and he's scoring goals. But I thought yesterday Nolan was very much last season's vintage rather than this season's so far.
Yeah, he went AWOL a bit. I think Giselle just still lacks that little bit of physicality, especially in that game. We didn't have the ball. I mean, I didn't notice, but Christ knows what the possession was in the second half. Must have been 70, must have been even more than that. 75, 25 maybe. And he just didn't, he wasn't landing on the ball. We just didn't have the ball because, quite right, it was just kick long to Hawkins. And everyone was trying to feed off scraps there. So very difficult game for Giselle second half. I mean, he let his head drop particularly. He kept running, kept working, but yeah.
And remember that for much of that second half, backs against the wall, if that's what you want to call it, we had 10 men as well, didn't we?
Yeah.
So
difficult to judge, a bit harsh, I think.
You may have found that had we not had this Ward substitute in the first half, we may have ended up with Hughes in there, Hughes, Downs plus another. Yeah, in there at the end. Yeah, just for that reason.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
We couldn't make the change, could we?
No.
Okay, and that brings us to the end of the questions. Thank you all so much for the questions, and can I also say on behalf of Blue Monday, thank you all for those of you who have financially contributed to the podcast via the Acast supporters feature. I'm going to read out some of the names of people that have donated, if you want to call it that. So there's Zhu, Steve C, Guy Club, PB Grange, Norwegian Blue, Dennis Sullivan, Max Vandernoort, James Ruddock, Don Sparks, Judge, Togsy, Ed Hawker, Will Airy, and DJ, and a lot of anonymous people as well. It sounds like the lineup for a decent stag do, doesn't it, Dave? That one.
But Judge, after what we've been saying about him, I can't believe that. That is unbelievable. I mean, good, he's got a thick skin. Can I just say, I read something on Twitter.
He isn't putting his fingers in his ears.
Yeah, I read something on Twitter, which is brilliant. Just say, or get well, I guess, to a guy called Oliver Pryke, who apparently watched the game yesterday, watched the stream yesterday after undergoing brain surgery.
Yeah.
Well, I don't quite know when. It sounded like he had brain surgery in the morning and watched the game in the afternoon. I mean, if that is unbelievable commitment. So if he is listening, flipping it, that's amazing, Oliver, and get well, mate. Crikey.
Get well soon.
Yeah.
Fair play. And I also want to give a quick shout out to Sore Feet for the beat, who is walking in horrendous conditions down from Carlisle to Ipswich. I think he's on his own now. He did have somebody walking with him.
Malcolm Thompson, isn't it? I saw something tweet yesterday. He's walking on the hard shoulder of the M62 for. I mean, look, bloody dangerous for Christ's sake. So amazing. Good luck with that fella. Brilliant.
And is there anything else you'd like to plug, gents?
I've got a couple actually. So I've been following this boy. I don't know if you picked up on it as I would, but I've got also one for Craig. I've been following this Boys of 81 thing on Facebook. So it's the Boys of 81 Facebook site, and they've been posting the town scores in the BBC format as it would look now from 80-81. Sometimes with comments from Bobby Robson's book Time on the Grass of that game. And I looked earlier, and it was to the day. So it's today. In 1980, we drew 1-1 at home with Leeds. Suffice to say, fairly late on equaliser from John Walk. But just for Craig, knowing I was going to be on with Craig tonight, I thought I'll just have a look at 91-92 season. And on the 5th of October 1991, Ipswich 2, Oxford 1. Quite an early goal from you'll like this. Quite an early goal from Simon Milton. Followed up in fairly quick succession by only one Steve Whitten. And interestingly, what I didn't pick up on, I haven't picked up on before, their goal was scored late on by Jim Magilton, who obviously scored both in the home game and also obviously the away game that season.
Magic.
So
what a trio that is. Simon Milton, Steve Whitten and Jim Magilton. That's your dream dinner party right there, isn't it, Craig?
Well, that's we've done interviews with one of those three. You just need to tick off the other two and everyone will be happy, won't they?
100%. Right, so Town are back in action on Tuesday night against Gillingham. It's the return of the EFL trophy. It's a 7 p.m. kickoff, that one. And shortly after full time, Rich and Seb will be going live on our YouTube channel. So please send in your Twitter questions beforehand or during the game or anything you want them to talk about. It could even be about orange flavoured chocolate twirls. I'm sure Rich will happily oblige there. It really is enjoyable to join in on the live chat and everything and watch them squirm when the questions pop up. Actually, it was you who was on with
I was on with Ben, yeah.
You were. Sorry, I said it was Rich earlier, but it was you, wasn't
sorry.
it,
And
Dave?
Ben left his somehow on the screen. Ben left his DMs on, didn't he, or something like that? For it was all kicking off. And then because this thing came through about Norwood, oh my word! But no, it was the first time I'd done one of them. No, it was good. It was really good fun. A lot of fun.
Excellent. So, and of course, we'll be back for a normal flagship show next Sunday. Now that we have a game up in Blackpool, are you disappointed not to be going up to Blackpool in early October, Craig?
Well, yeah, no. I went to Fleetwood last year, but spent a night near Blackpool and had the sights and sounds of Blackpool in the early morning for a greasy spoon on the Saturday morning before taking the coastal drive up to Fleetwood. And that's an interesting place, Blackpool. And it's not. Is it not in lockdown? Is it at the moment? Isn't that little enclave, a little Vatican City enclave?
Isn't it's outside of lockdown. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, if any town fans fancy going up there in one of the 3 dozen Weatherspoons that are dotted around Blackpool and standing outside the ground for the afternoon.
Yeah,
I'm
sure somebody will. You won't be joining them, okay? But so any last words from you both though before we finish?
No, I don't think so. Just as usual, onwards and upwards, and upwards.
And from you, Craig?
Yeah, let's just fingers crossed for the injury news in the next couple of days, I think.
And I'm just going to say, before anyone starts to feel sorry for themselves, just think how hard it must be to be a Manchester United fan at the moment.
Or Liverpool. I think Villa just scored their 5th.
7th.
No, what?
Good night, everyone.
This